All right, good morning. Welcome. Thank you everyone for joining us this morning. My name is Kerrie and I'm the Director of Marketing and Sales for Wellsgrey Tours. And with me this morning is he has many titles. Of course, he's our founder of Wellsgrey Tours, the owner of the company. He's also our fearless leader and of course a tour director. And I'm thrilled to have Roland with us this morning. Welcome, Roland.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today.
And we're here to talk about a fascinating itinerary, a fairly new trip that Wellsgrey Tours is offering. We did offer this tour recently in the fall, just last September of 2022. And this morning, of course, we're here to talk about Ontario Waterways and the Canals cruise. And I know Roland is going to talk a little bit more about how this tour came to fruition, but we took a mystery tour on this trip last September, and it was such a success and such a unique itinerary. We are thrilled to be offering it again this June. So it is going this June, June 23rd for 11 days. So we're going to talk about that this morning. So we'll get started. Roland, would you like to say a few words before we jump into the presentation?
Yes, thanks, Kerrie. I was on that mystery tour. I usually direct most of the mystery tours, and I happened upon the Kawartha Voyageur ship from an ad in the Globe and Mail about a year ago, and called the toll-free number just to make an inquiry about whether we could get a group on the ship. And that's how it came about. At first, the people I talked to in the reservations office were very surprised that somebody from British Columbia would want to fly all the way to Ontario to go on their ship, because normally they cater only to Ontario residents. But I persevered. They were reluctant to give me too many cabins, but they gave us 15. And those sold out in about 3 days once we announced the mystery tour, and then it was off. So the rest of the presentation will be mostly my pictures that I took last September with the terrific scenery along the canals of southern Ontario. Many people don't realize how extensive these canals are, that you can actually travel all the way from Ottawa through to Kingston. That area is well known. It's called the Rideau Canal. But then the other canal is called the Trent Severn Waterway. And it winds its way all the way through southern Ontario, through Lake Simcoe, and then finishes at Georgian Bay, part of Lake Huron. So it's a long route that you can go. And if you were to do the entire waterway, it would take about 15 days. So we only do one 5-day segment on this trip, and I'll show you a map shortly.
Excellent. Thank you, Roland. Yeah, just doing a little bit of research when this tour came out for sale, I really had no idea of how extensive the waterway is and just how many locks. A couple of things I learned: there's 43 locks located throughout the waterways. On this tour in particular, we're going to be going through 21 of them. And it took longer to build all these locks and this whole waterway. I know in the Trent Severn Waterway, it took 87 years of construction. And when you put that into perspective, I mean, the Panama Canal, for example, took 30 years. So this is quite a fascinating engineering project that you're going to learn and see all about as you're traveling through all these locks and through the different waterways. So we'll get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So hopefully everyone can see this. So this is our opening slide. So this tour is called Ontario Waterways and Canals Cruise. All of our departures are leaving on June 23rd. So it's an 11-day tour, and flying out of Vancouver via to Ottawa. And Now, we do have an exciting announcement this morning. We were offering $200 early booking discounts. Those have since sold out, but as a special incentive this morning for joining the webinar, we are going to extend those early booking discounts for one more week. So from 1 week today, we are still going to be offering those $200 early booking discounts. So that is a really great deal. We do always like to point out our activity level. This tour is an activity level number 2. We just want to make sure you're aware that you can get, of course, on and off the ship. There is quite a bit of walking, short distances, stairs, longer walks sometimes in airports because we are flying. So just to keep that in mind when you are booking the trip. And this is an absolutely gorgeous photo that Roland took of the ship here in port one day. You can see the beautiful fall foliage in the background as they were there in September. So getting there, as I mentioned, we'll be leaving from the interior cities or via from the island. You'll be meeting in Vancouver or the Lower Mainland, meeting in Vancouver, and then flying from Vancouver into Ottawa. Tonight, we actually have 3 nights we're going to spend in Ottawa and staying at the classic Lord Elgin Hotel, a beautiful property, of course, located very ideally in the center of town, right near the Parliament Hill, the Rideau Canal, which Roland mentioned earlier, which we'll talk more about. And this hotel was built in 1941, so lots of history you'll learn by staying in this property, and we'll spend 3 nights here. Then our first day, which is day number 2 on the tour, we have a nice day visiting the museums. We go to 2 of the most acclaimed national museums, the first being the Canadian Museum of History, and there is an IMAX theater included here, and then we will also be going to the Canadian War Museum. And then we do have some free time in the afternoon, so some leisure time to relax. Then our next day, which is day number 3, we are going to give you a free day to spend in Ottawa. And there are so many things to do and see. Maybe you have family nearby, but our tour director will be able to assist you in booking some really great tours that are offered. You can do a tour of the Parliament buildings. You can rent a bike to ride along the canal. And there's a really neat market really close by, which is the Byward Market, and they do a food tasting tour. There's lots of fun options for you to spend this, this day. Then on our 4th day, we have a local guide who's going to join us and give us a city tour. So we'll be doing a city tour around the notable government buildings throughout the area, going down Sussex Drive, seeing lots of the fine homes on Rock Cliff Park. So it'll be a really nice way to spend the morning. Then as we leave Ottawa and head out to board our ship, we will be stopping at Diefenbaker, which is, of course, known as the Canada's Gold War Museum. It's a massive 4-story underground bunker, as you can see in the photograph here, which was built between 1959 and 1961, of course, during the Cold War. And this is where all the top officials were taken to shelter in the event of if there was a nuclear war. So it was actually active for the Canadian forces until 1994, and now it's turned into a museum. So we will spend time touring here. Then we'll be driving off to board the Kawartha. So this is our small ship. We're going to cruise for the next 5 days. So we are booked overnight in Peterborough. The ship stays docked here, and a really nice highlight very close to where the ship is docked is the impressive Centennial Fountain. You can see it lights up at night, shoots 76 meters in the air. So it's an absolutely gorgeous fountain. And I know Roland's tour saw that on their tour in the fall. So he'll probably speak a little bit more to that. So that's the first few days. So we spend the 3 days, of course, in Ottawa before the journey, before boarding our lovely boat to sail down the waterways. And I'm going to turn it over to Roland. So go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'll let you, Roland, share your screen.
All right, hello again. So let me just get set up here.
Perfect.
All right, so here's a map of the cruise route, and you can see the star in the lower right for Peterborough, and that's where we'll be traveling to on the coach from Ottawa. And there the ship is docked. We stay the first night on the ship, and we stay docked. In fact, the vessel doesn't travel at nighttime. The waterways are too narrow, and the locks, of course, have to be operated by somebody. So we're always docked at night, but we're traveling in the daytime so that you get a terrific view of the canals and the lock experiences. And we're traveling from Peterborough north into the Kawartha Lakes. Right away, as soon as you leave Peterborough, we go through the lift lock, and I'll have a video shortly about that experience, which is completely different from your normal lock. And then you can see the various lock symbols, the little arrows, as we travel all the way through the Kawartha Lakes and to Rosedale, then the Kirkfield lift lock, which takes us down, and then from there into Lake Simcoe, and then continuing on through the north arm of Lake Simcoe, joining the Severn River, and then the star at Big Chute on the left of your screen. That's where we finish. We're not quite at Georgian Bay, because just past Big Chute is another type of lock which is too small for the Kawartha Voyageur to get through. And so the cruise finishes at Big Chute. Then from there, we travel by motor coach into Toronto. So let me move into the video now. And this is a video produced by the company that operates this ship. Ontario Waterways is the name. And here you can see in the background the Peterborough lift lock. It's an incredible technological achievement, which has actually been around for over a century, but it doesn't behave like your normal lock, where water fills up one lock and then off you go. Here you can see it's two, I would liken it to bathtubs, giant bathtubs, one that the ship is in at the bottom, and then the other one is just above the ship, up at the level that we're going to be going to. So the two are counterbalanced, and the ship sails into the lower one, the upper one is filled with water, and then goes down and lifts the other one with our ship in it up to the next level. It's quite an experience. So anyway, here is a video of the voyage and about the ship and many things. So this is a couple of minutes video.
The Voyager is a 45-passenger, 13-crew-member boat equipped with all the common luxuries you would find. Quiet engines, ease of boarding, gentle ride, air conditioning, and an elevator with cabin attached. But what really makes this boat unique is how it's been customized for the journey it does. The ship itself was originally designed and built by our family. We had very, very specific needs to put in a small space. You've noticed that daily the ship has been specifically adapted to fit some of the parameters of the waterway. All bridges on the waterway are set at 22-foot height off the water level. We will stand 34 feet off the water level as you approach the Voyager. So how does a 34-foot vessel get under a 22-foot bridge? One of the features of the Voyager is that you have to flash your house so that you can get underneath bridges. The operator then has to put their head outside of the sunroof so that they can still operate the ship. The sun on the back and the sun failing level. And indeed, our customer as well to sit down. The ship's sitting at 120 feet long. Colonel By built a 108-foot long tubes.
with a 120-foot boat in a 108-foot lock? Well, we'll find out. The bow lifts us up and creates a 12-foot shortage to the vessel, which allows us to get into the lock chamber.
So with it down, it's a useful space for people to sit and watch the canal go by, but come through shorter lock, then have to get everyone come inside, then fold the bow up to get into the lock.
All right, so that was a good introduction to the ship and many of the experiences that we had last fall when we did our first tour there. The two people that you met on this video, Brian and Mark, were both on the cruise that we had in September, and very personable people, very chatty, and certainly willing to tell you a lot about the ship whenever you want to know some more. So I enjoy chatting to them quite a bit, and that's when we set up this trip that is going in June on a portion of what we did on the mystery tour, but a lot of it that is further west. So here's some scenes of the cruise. Here's a low bridge that we're going under. And we're on the forward deck, the one that was shown in the video that folds up. And if we're going through a tight lock, then everybody has to get off this deck, of course, and move somewhere else on the ship. Then this whole section folds up to let us get into the lock. Here's some of the crew that were on our trip in September. We have Mark is the man on the right back row, one of the owners and the Eckhart family that built the ship and still operates it today. And then the man kneeling on the right front is the guide and host, who is available all the time. Now the dining room is on the second deck, and the service is excellent. The food is terrific. You don't have any choices, though. So there is a menu on the table, but it's just to tell you what you're going to be eating for that meal. Then the staff come out of the kitchen on the trolley that you see in this picture and comes to each table and asks what you would like, and more importantly, how much you want. So you get the service, and they'll come back about 20 minutes later and see if you want some more. So you can eat as much or as little as you want. But because of the very tiny galley in it, and they do a galley tour, and you're just amazed at how they can produce so much food out of such a tiny galley. Quite a remarkable achievement. But we found the food throughout the whole voyage was just excellent, and we could look forward to every meal. On the top deck, it's all the sun deck, and there's lounge chairs, and we were there in late September, so it was cool on one of the days, but very warm and sunny some of the other days. So that's why people are wearing the red blankets, just to keep warm and still be able to stay on the top deck. And then every now and then the serving staff bring out some snacks for you. So generally mid-morning, there's somebody comes out with a tray full of snacks and passes them around. Same in mid-afternoon. So you certainly don't go hungry with 3 meals a day plus all the snacks. There's an example of one of the dinners that we had, and we have arranged for an open bar for the entire voyage. So here's Sharon and Pat enjoying a mid-afternoon happy hour with some glasses of wine. But you just go up to the bar and ask for what you want, and you don't have to pay for it. So here's a scene going along the Otonabee River, heading towards lock number 20, and then to the Peterborough lift lock. So here's some pictures that I took of going through the lock. We did it in the opposite direction to the way you will do it in June. So we went down on this lock, but it was a fascinating procedure. So as I explained earlier, we were in one giant bathtub, and on the right, the water that you see there is the other one that is counterbalancing us and will let us go down. And that's the Peterborough lift lock seen from below. So it's about a 20-meter rise, quite remarkable for a lock. We'll be cruising past the campus of Trent University, and then we go up 5 more locks to enter the Kawartha Lakes. And then we go through a whole series of lakes, one after the other, usually with a couple of locks in between. Here's the Youngs Point Dam, and then the lock is right next to it. Sometimes once we get tied up to the side of the lock, then we can get off the ship. After all, it's just a step away. You go out one of the gates at either the front or the back of the ship, and then you can walk along beside the lock, take pictures of the ship as it goes up or down, and then once you get to the other side of the lock, then just rejoin the ship. It's so informal, and being a very small ship with only 40 people on board, it's easy to do things like that. One of the sites along the lake, this Anglican church that's built on an island. The man who's standing on the right in this picture is not one of our customers, but is the best customer of Ontario Waterways, and he and his wife have taken 25 cruises on the ship. They just love the ship, and they get well looked after, having been with the cruise so many times. So we chatted to them a lot. They already had, last fall, they had all of their cruises for 2023 already booked. So quite interesting to hear all their experiences. We went up past Burley Falls, and then 2 more lakes, and then we get into our overnight stop, which is at the village of Buckhorn. The Lovesick Lock. I think everybody wants to take a picture of themselves at Lovesick. So here's Carol and Wayne performing for us in front of the Lovesick sign. From here, there's a short walk from the ship up to look at these 2 giant erratics that have been left by some old Ice Age glaciers back when this whole area was covered by thousands of feet of ice, and these big rocks were plucked from somewhere on the Canadian Shield, carried away, and then dumped close together. And they're called the Adam and Eve rocks. So here's an example of going through a lock where a lot of people got off to watch and take pictures. And this is one of the narrow locks, so that the bow got folded up in order to get the ship fitted into this rather small lock. So here, with a picture of the whole ship, I can explain how the decks work. So the lower deck is all the bedrooms. So there are 22 cabins on the ship, both sides, center hall, and each cabin has a bathroom and a sink that is separated from the bed area by a curtain. The cabins are very compact in order to fit so many people and so many cabins onto a ship like this that cannot be any longer. Then it has to be compact. So basically, you are sleeping and using the bathroom in your cabin, but you don't sit in your cabin and look out the window at the scenery going by. For that, you are on the next deck up, the middle deck, and that has the dining room, the lounge area, and lots of comfortable chairs to sit at and watch the scenery go by, visit with other people. And from there, there is stairs that go to the top deck, which is all open and is a big sun deck. Lots of lounge chairs, like I showed you earlier, where you can gather. There's a canopy over top. If it's too sunny, then you can move your chair into the shady area. And that's where you get the best view of everything that is happening around the ship. The beauty of a river cruise is that you are never out of sight of land, and certainly not on this one, where sometimes you could practically touch the land as it goes by. So you get a great view from that deck. And then the bridge is just forward, a bit hard to see in this picture, but you can go and visit and chat to the captain, as long as he's not doing anything important, entering a lock or navigating in some of these very narrow sections. So here we are in a lock. So this is from the bridge, looking down onto the forward deck, where everybody is gathered to watch us going through the lock. As we go through all of these locks, up or down, usually fairly small amounts, like maybe 5 meters at a time. But then we come to the Kirkfield lift lock. So you remember the Peterborough lock took us up 20 meters at once. And now here is the same type of lock that takes us down. So this takes us down about 18 meters. So it's not quite as high as the Peterborough lock. But there's a good example of the two of them, two locks side by side. One that is at the bottom and one is at the top, and there's a small vessel in that one. Lots of bridges that we go under, or sometimes bridges open to let us go through. And as you saw in the video, the pilot house often has to lower down in order to let us go underneath a bridge. And that's when the staff come out onto the sun deck and tell us that a bridge is approaching, tell you to don't stand up at the last minute, because that could be quite dangerous. So you stay in your seat and watch the bridge go overhead, sometimes just a few meters overhead. So quite exciting to go under these bridges. We stop in some towns, not only just overnight, but sometimes we just pull up there in the daytime, stop for an hour, and go and see something, walk around the town, see some attraction. For instance, Aurelia has the home of Stephen Leacock, which is a National Historic Site. And then from there, we sail up into Lake Couchiching to enter the Severn Waterway, or the Severn River. The whole thing is called the Trent Severn Waterway. On Canada Day, it'll be our final day of scenery as we cruise down the Severn River. Here is our guide and naturalist on the left, who is on every voyage. And he and Wayne are looking at something, probably some bird life on shore. So our cruise ends at Big Chute. And here we cannot go any further because it's called a marine railway that carries smaller ships down the 18 meters to Georgian Bay. But we stop at Big Chute and get onto our coach there and head into Toronto. So it's 5 days on the ship. Here you can see the upper sun deck where people gather to watch all sorts of things. So for our trip in June, we've initially been given the whole ship, and which just shows great trust that we've got with this company already, having sold out our 15 cabins last September in just a few days. Right now, we're about half full on this cruise, but they've given us until March 1st to sell the remaining cabins. Otherwise, they have to take them back and sell them to people presumably in Ontario. So I really hope that we can sell the rest of these cabins, and you can come and experience the Trent Severn Waterway and the Kawartha Voyageur, just as we did last fall. I can tell you from personal experience that I've thoroughly enjoyed this cruise. I love cruises of all sorts, whether they're ocean or river, and I've been on lots of them, but this was really quite an amazing experience, going through these narrow waterways and experiencing all of these locks, and having a lot of camaraderie with the other people on board, since there's only 40 people that can travel on the ship at any one time. Kerrie mentioned at the beginning that we're extending the early booker discount of $200 per person to anybody who wants to book in the next week. And I should mention as well that a few of the people who were on the mystery tour so enjoyed the voyage that they have already booked to go back on this trip in June. So that's a pretty good testimonial that you'll have a good time on this ship, and I hope that you will be able to join us for that. And just finishing up with one more picture, that this is Little Canada. It's in Toronto. So after we get off the ship and drive into Toronto, we have 2 nights there, and this is one of the attractions that we'll be going to. It's a huge miniature display of 5 cities across Canada, all done with incredible detail. So this picture is of Quebec City. So Place Royale in the foreground, the Chateau Frontenac in the back. And some of the scenes even move. Cars move along the streets, and there's cable cars and ships in the river and so on. So it's you can spend quite a bit of time looking at the incredible detail that has gone into building Little Canada. Then we'll be going to a theater to see a show. The theaters for June are just finalizing their shows. There's a few that are out already. The show that we saw last September on the mystery tour was the incredible Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. one of the Mirvish theaters, and that was really an amazing show. But we're not sure if the show is going to be extended. Right now, it's closing at the beginning of June. But often shows do get extended, and that is one possibility for a show that we'll be picking. But we'll certainly notify people as soon as we have picked the show that we're going to see. And then from Toronto, we fly back home to British Columbia. And that finishes our 11 days on the Ontario Waterways. So thanks, everybody, and hope you've enjoyed these slides of the Kawartha Voyageur and the Ontario Waterways Canals cruise. So over to you, Kerrie. I guess you have some closing words.
Yeah, thank you so much, Roland. Just fabulous to see all the stunning photos. I read that the waterway was about 1,600 kilometers. So you can see how vast, and as Roland mentioned, you just have scenery the whole time that you're cruising. The shoreline is so close, and there's over 160 major islands that you see and weave around. So I think it's going to be an absolutely beautiful journey. I did want to open it up if there was any questions that you had and you would like to ask myself or Roland this morning. You can go ahead and put those in the chat box. And we can try and answer them this morning. If not, if you have any further questions, of course, you can phone your local office and our sales team will guide you through any questions. The video that we played at the beginning, it may have had a bit of low sound. So if the volume wasn't coming through for you, don't panic. I have recorded the webinar this morning, and I do have the link to the video. So I'll make sure I'll be putting both of those in an email to everyone this afternoon, so you can rewatch that 2-minute video. Roland also took a fantastic video of going through one of the locks, and we did not show that this morning, but I have that, so I will link that as well, so you can watch that on your own time. And as he mentioned, we do have that $200 early booker discount available for just one more week. And I just thought it was so fascinating that that gentleman had done 25 tours on the ship. That's pretty neat. I know we have a couple customers that, as Roland mentioned, took the tour in the fall and are already signed up for June. And as Roland mentioned as well, Wells Grey Tours is taking care of the open bar while you're on the ship for the 5 days. So I know for me, having that nice glass of wine in the evening is a nice selling feature. So it's nice that we are offering that. So I'm just going to check in the chat here and see.
I don't see anything yet.
I have 2 questions coming in the question and answer box, and one is asking, Melody is asking the price. So how much does it cost? For a double fare, it's $5,995, and for a single, it's $9,055. So that's from the interior region. That price might be slightly different from the lower mainland or from Victoria, but that's a ballpark for you anyhow. And I will attach the full itinerary brochure to the email with the recording as well. So you can see the itinerary and everything that's included with the price.
And that price does include 22 meals, since you have all meals on the ship, and then a few other ones in Ottawa and Toronto. So plus, as I said, you also get snacks mid-morning and mid-afternoon. So I remember after that trip in September, I had to go on some serious weight loss because they feed you so well.
Yeah, the food looks excellent. There's, in the photo that we showed with the salad and the chicken casserole, every time I see that photo, I want that for dinner. It looked excellent. And we have one other question. It's asking which hotel we are staying at in Toronto, which I believe is the Chelsea Hotel, Roland, is that correct?
Yes, we're staying at the Chelsea Hotel. Excellent location, about a block away from the Eaton Centre, which is a huge shopping center right in downtown Toronto. And restaurants all around the hotel if you don't want to actually eat in the hotel. So we certainly had no problem finding a place to eat. The hotel pretty much fills a whole block. So you can go out any one of the 4 doors from the hotel. On one side is Yonge Street, and the other side, another side is Gerrard Street. So you just go out and walk a few steps and you'll find all sorts of restaurants. So a great choice there. It's also about 2 blocks away from Little Canada. So we don't get a motor coach to take you that short distance. You could walk it faster than a coach can travel on those busy streets of Toronto. And then if we do go to the Ed Mirvish Theatre, that's almost adjacent to Little Canada. But we'll have to decide fairly soon, I think, when the theaters announce which show we're actually going to see. But at any one time, there's about 5 different shows on in Toronto, musicals and other types of shows. So certainly no shortage of choices for something to go and see that afternoon.
Excellent. So I think that was all the questions. If you do have any further questions, please follow up with myself or your local office. Or we can even reach out to Roland if it's something specific about the ship, because he's been there and sailed on the ship. And I think that's everything this morning. I just want to say thank you for joining us on behalf of Wells Grade Tours, and we are really looking forward to this really unique itinerary. Any closing remarks, Roland?
Well, just I'll say it again. I had a wonderful time last September. I won't be going on the trip this June, but I would certainly love to go on the ship some other time and one of the other 2 routes that they offer, and see that canal experience as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Roland, for taking the time this morning to take us behind the scenes and show us those fabulous photos that you took and get people excited.
Back to tour planning now, my other job when I'm not doing a webinar. So between Fraser and I, we're putting out a lot of tours right now. So fall is the big one. Let's see, Egypt and Jordan just came out the other day, and it's 2/3 full already. It's fantastic. And then I think the next one that's going to come out in maybe tomorrow is Route 66, from following the historic highway from Chicago to halfway anyway down to Oklahoma City. So I just finished writing that itinerary, and really got intrigued by all the sites along that way. But I know Fraser has sent me several tours in the last few days that I need to work on as well. So never a dull moment around here.
No, we keep them very busy. I believe currently we have about 60 tours out for sale. So you can always pop onto the website and see all those fascinating new tours. Route 66, I think, is going to be a really exciting new itinerary. So if you would like more information about that just before it comes out for sale, we always take an interested list, and that way you receive that tour before we actually advertise it, and it goes out to the general public, and then you get in on those early booking discounts. So definitely call your local office if any of those tours Roland just mentioned stand out to you this morning. But thank you again. Thank you for joining us. And I will be sending out the recording and the video link. So watch your email for those. So thanks so much, and happy and safe travels from all of us here at Wells Grade Tours.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Take care. Thanks so much, Roland. Bye-bye.